Okay, guys, I wanted to try to get a few more videos up here tonight, whatever. Alright, this one's on animal husbandry, the basics. So here we go. For me, a homestead isn't a homestead without animals. I agree. When we first started homesteading, we wanted to get goats. We still do. Goats are the most noble animal ever put on earth. They've got all the personality and intelligence of dogs, they're smarter than sheep, and they enjoy the company of humans and other animals. But we didn't get goats, at least not at first. We haven't yet, but we will. We started with some chickens. We did too. Later moved to ducks. We will have ducks. Dastardly creatures. Rabbits, guinea fowl, and eventually goats. We will have guineas. We'll have rabbits. Again, that's going to be business. Goats. Dairy goats for sure. One of the goats we got was a dwarf Nubian mix, which meant she was small. She was sickly. She came down with a respiratory infection right after I brought her home. She was also tough. She'd get into fights with an alpine dairy goats we had, animals easily twice her size. She wasn't very well mannered. It took her weeks to get used to us. We milked her for a while, and she bucked and kicked the whole time. Finally, months later, we established a bit of a relationship. We understood each other. We were starting to get along. She knew I meant food and water and no harm. Occasionally, she would get her head stuck in the fence while trying to reach for a bit of vegetation just outside the enclosure. Then she wouldn't be able to pull her head back through the wire because her hooked horns would get stuck. Then she'd yell for me to come and get her, and patiently wait while I got her untangled. Every night I'd go and check on her and the other goats to make sure they were bedded down and safe. When winter came, I put straw inside the little goat house I built for her and her herd mates to sleep in and stay warm. The weather called for snow overnight. I spent most of the evening standing in the sleet and rain trying to get the stovepipe on the wood heater fixed, so I could build a fire and stay warm through the winter storm the weather service had warned us about. After the rain froze in my hair and beard, I warmed up a bit by the heater. Then I went to check on the chickens and rabbits and goats. They were all fine. I went to bed, warm and happy about getting so much done that day. I woke up, had a cup of coffee, and then went to check on everything. The rabbits were fine, the chickens were fine, the horrible ducks were fine. The goats were fine, except for one little girl goat that was missing. I looked all through the enclosure calling for her. When she heard me, she started bleeding. She was lying next to the fence, her head twisted back at an awkward angle and unable to move. She was cold to the touch. I scooped her up and took her inside the house. I gave her a hot bath to warm her up, got her some food and water, and started making phone calls. Vets and vet techs were of little use, as most of them in the area knew very little about goats. I researched and talked to the other goat keepers and took a trip to the feed and seed store to get medicine for this little girl goat. Most people suggested putting her down. I didn't want to do that. I spent 3 days putting vitamin supplements and medicine into the girl, kept her warm and comfortable, and made sure she had plenty of water. 3 days after I found her out in the cold, I was sitting in the garage with her, petting her. She laid her head on my lap, sighed a bit, and died.
Oh.
We learned a lot from keeping animals, a whole lot. We learned how to keep animals clean and safe. We learned how to feed animals without going broke. We learned how to feed ourselves with the help of animals and how to incorporate those animals into growing vegetables and more. We learned how to inject goats, dress the wounds of chickens, in which sulfa drugs work on intestinal parasites. We saw baby chicks being born, and we watched little girl goats die. Having animals on your homestead makes it a little more fun and a lot more meaningful. You get to be partners with your animals, even the animals you kill and eat. You and your animals will work together to feed each other and care for each other. You'll provide food and health care and shelter for your animals. They'll provide food and entertainment, companionship, and even income for you. And I'm going to go ahead and stop there on that one, even though this isn't very long. And the next one is going to be on meat, milk, eggs, fish, fiber, and more. And I will see you guys in a few minutes on the next video. Bye, guys. It won't take long to get this one up there. I'll see you in a few. Bye, guys.